devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishna Bhutale Srimati Sankarsana Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminati Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtikhi. Today we are continuing to read from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 33, entitled Activities of Kapila, text 13 and 14. Sachapi tana yoktena yoga deshena yoga yuk tasmin ashrama apide sarasvatya samahita sachapi tana yoktena yoga deshena yoga yuk tasmin ashrama apide sarasvatya samahita sachapi tana yoktena yoga deshena yoga yuk tasmin ashrama apide sarasvatya samahita yoktena yoga deshena yoga yuk tasmin ashrama apide sarasvatya samahita. Thank you. Word to word meaning: sa, she, cha, and, api, also, tanayam, by her son, uktena, spoken, yoga adeshena, by the instruction on yoga, yoga yuk, engaged in bhakti yoga, tasmin, in that, ashrame, hermitage, apide, the flower crown, sarasvatya, of the Saraswati, samahita, fixed in samadhi. Translation: as instructed by her son Devahuti also began to practice bhakti yoga in that very ashrama. She practiced samadhi in the house of Kadama Muni, which was so beautifully decorated with flowers that it was considered the flower crown of river Saraswati. Purport. Devahuti did not leave her house because it is never recommended for a woman to leave her home. She is dependent. The very example of Devahuti was that when she was not married, she was under the care of her father, Swayambhu Manu, and then Swayambhu Manu gave her to Kardama Muni in charity. She was under the care of her husband in her youth, and then her son Kapila Muni was born. As soon as her son grew up, her husband left home, and similarly the son, after discharging his duty towards his mother, also left. She could also have left home, but she did not. Rather, she remained at home and began to practice Bhakti Yoga as it was instructed by her great son Kapila Muni. And because of her practice of Bhakti Yoga, the entire home became just like a flower crown on the river Saraswati. So asked to cover text 14 as well. I'll read the word-to-word meaning of text 14. Please hear. Abhishanka, again and again. Avagaha, by bathing. Kapishan, grey. Jatilan, matted. Kutila, curled. Alakan, hair. Atmanam, her body. Cha, and. Ugra tapasa, by severe austerities. Bhibrati, became. Chirnam, clothed in rags. Sharam, thin. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. She began to bathe 3 times daily, and thus her curling black hair gradually became grey. Due to austerity, her body gradually became thin and she wore old garments. Purport. It is the practice of the yogi, brahmachari, vanaprastha and sannyasi to bathe at least 3 times daily, early in the morning, during noontime and in the evening. These principles are strictly followed even by some grihasthas, especially brahmanas, who are elevated in spiritual consciousness. Devahuti was a king's daughter and almost a king's wife also. Although Kardama Muni was not a king, by his yogic mystic power he accommodated Devahuti very comfortably in a nice place with maid servants and all opulence. But since she had learnt austerity even in the presence of her husband, there was no difficulty for her to be austere. Still, because her body underwent severe austerity after the departure of her husband and son, she became thin. To be too fat is not very good for spiritually advanced life. Rather, one should reduce, because if one becomes fat, it is an impediment to progress in spiritual understanding. One should be careful not to eat too much, sleep too much, or remain in a comfortable position. Voluntarily accepting some penances and difficulties, one should take less food and less sleep. These are the procedures for practicing any kind of yoga, whether Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, or Hatha Yoga. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swaparantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostude Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, welcome to today's Bhagavatam class. Just to give a quick background about the discussion. The spiritual topics related to self-realization is something that we discuss every day in the morning. And the current theme that's been going on for a few months is about a discussion between a highly realized personality. She's playing the role of a female mother, but she is gaining knowledge from her own son, who is none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the role of the mother is being played by Devahuti, and the Lord, being supremely independent, he can appear in any form, so therefore he appears to teach the principles of the Sankhya Yoga. So for that he appears in the name of Lord Kapila. So the setting is that it's situated in in a hermitage, or like an ashram. That's what we hear in this verse. This ashram is situated in the bank of Mother Saraswati, River Saraswati rather. So as an ashram, as you know, it's an environment conducive for spiritual practice. And this discussion between the mother and the son has been going on. Several topics have been discussed. Devahuti felt that she did not make use of the company of her husband, who was also an exalted, spiritually exalted person. Her husband's name was Kardama. He was also an ascetic, and he made sure that Devahuti lives in a very comfortable situation. And then, as per the promise, when the son, which is Lord Kapila, was born, he leaves home, giving Mother Devahuti under the care of Lord Kapila, who is none other than the Supreme Lord himself. So Mother Devahuti then makes a lot of spiritual inquiries to Lord Kapila, thereby drawing the wisdom from Lord Kapila. Just as you know Bhagavad Gita, so who asks questions in Bhagavad Gita? Do you know who are involved in Gita? Yes. Arjuna. Arjuna is asking question to Lord Krishna, and thereby he is considered like a calf who is drawing the milk from the mother. In the same way, Mother Devahuti was asking a lot of pertinent questions related to the best path of liberation, the quickest way, the effect of time, the entanglement in this material world, so that she wants to know the quickest path. Lord Kapila replied by saying that it's a Bhakti Yoga, but there are other paths also, the path of Ashtanga Yoga, which is like the regulating the bodily movements and thereby controlling the mind, and then the path of reading various scriptures and then trying to understand through the path of knowledge. So the path of devotion, which is where one surrenders himself as a servitor of the Supreme Lord, that's one pathway. The other path is by regulating the bodily functions, then controlling the mind, and finally focusing on the Lord. So you're connecting to the Lord, which is yoga. So this is done through various methods. One of them is through the path of devotion. The other is through the path of bodily regulations, and then connecting the mind, meditating on the Lord. So the common principle is connection, but it is achieved through various methods. The other pathway is to read various scriptures, then understand the knowledge and distinguish yourself that I am not these five elements and I am separate from these elements. So by that speculative wisdom, you connect yourself to the Lord. So this path is called the path of Jnana. So Mother Devahuti asks all of this, and now having given the complete knowledge to Mother Devahuti, Lord Kapila also leaves the ashram. So that's the setting we're in, and that sets the context for today's verse. So the principle of two personalities leaving home and why Mother Devahuti did not leave home, that brings us to today's verse. Kardama Muni, being an ascetic and having understood that he has fulfilled the responsibilities of a father, having given a worthwhile son, he did not want to remain in the family life, because for the path that he has chosen, the family life was not very conducive. Although interestingly, the Lord himself has taken birth in his home as a son. So Acharyas described that each person has a particular kind of relationship with the Lord, in terms of thinking oneself like a servant, considering oneself like an affectionate father and mother. Because Kardama Muni was predominantly having this attitude of considering himself as a servant, he did not want to treat the Lord as his son. So it was a bit of an incompatible situation. So that is also another reason why Kardama Muni leaves home. So the key principle to understand is, whatever is conducive for your self-realization, that approach you take. So the principle is something that we can learn. Now, in the yesterday's verse and the previous verses, it's covered why Lord Kapila leaves home. It's not that he needs self-realization, he himself is the object of self-realization. He also leaves home just to set an example. That's also another reason why Kardama Muni leaves home, to set an example for others, so that one doesn't need to remain at home till the end of their life to pursue self-realization. However, both of these were done so that the Lord is pleased. So you are applying this principle to please the Lord. Now, Devahuti does not imitate Kardama Muni and Lord Kapila, because she is in a different position. She is in the body of a female, and for female it is not recommended to leave home in the pursuance of self-realization. And that is the theme of today's verse. Whatever is conducive for your spiritual realization, that you pursue. In the case of Mother Devahuti, Lord Kapila himself is born as her son. Now when the son leaves, so she is going to remember her son, and she is going to develop those feelings of separation. Now, even reflecting in your own life, being with a person and being separated from the same person who you love, the love increases manyfold when there is separation. In separation, you remember the person more, you try to recollect what conversations you had with them, you recollect their character, their good qualities, all of that is going on in your mind, and that is absorbing. So that is the highest principle which Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to teach, which is worship of the Lord in separation. So because it is conducive, and because she has learned the principles of Bhakti Yoga, whatever she learned from Lord Kapila, she has to practice. And for practicing Bhakti Yoga, the ashram setup is very conducive for her. By doing this, she is also pleasing the Supreme Lord. So the principle to learn is, whatever is favorable for you to practice Bhakti Yoga and to please the Lord, that approach you take. You don't imitate others. So in this connection, we also have to understand The feelings that Mother Devahuti has towards Lord Kapila is not like a mundane feeling which a mother has towards her son. These are the feelings which she is feeling towards the Supreme Lord, and therefore it is spiritual. And coming back to this point of being situated in a favorable position, Lord Brahma, when he is praying to Lord Krishna, he sings this very amazing prayer. We will look at that prayer and then try to learn some principles where, after having been bewildered by Lord Krishna and understood his actual mistake, Lord Brahma tries to console Lord Krishna by offering prayers. One of the such prayers, he prays, Gyane prayasamudapasya namanta eva jivanti sanmukharitamba vadiya vartam Sthane stita srutigatam tanuvan manopir e prayaso ajita jita api asita istrilokyam. So this is 10.14.3 where Lord Brahma is praying to strongly establish this point about being strongly situated in a favorable position. So in the translation, we see that those who, even while remaining situated in their established social position. So that's a key point. So you situate yourself in a social position which is favorable for practicing devotional service. For some, it could be remaining single. For some, it could be remaining in a household life. For some, after being in household life, taking to retired life, and then moving on to the renounced order. So these are the different stages where you remain single, that's brahmachari. Then you get married, if that's going to help you in your spiritual life, that is grihastha. Then retired, which is vanaprastha. Then renounced is the sannyas. So the different stages. So one remains situated in their social position, and what do they have to give up and what do they have to do? These are given in the next. So next point is throw away the process of speculative knowledge. Not to engage in speculation, not to engage in the process of speculative knowledge, that is to be given up, but what has to be done? So with their body, mind and words, offer all respects to the descriptions of your personality. So here three things are there: body, mind and words. BMW. Sounds familiar? BMW. So with your body, mind and words, what are you supposed to do? The do's are that you're supposed to hear the descriptions of the personality of Godhead. So just like what you're doing, you are lending your ears and your hearing. So this is what is recommended. Hearing about the descriptions of the personality of Godhead. And once when does that, when he dedicates their life to these narrations, which are vibrated by you personally, means Bhagavad Gita is sung by Krishna and Srimad Bhagavatam is sung about Krishna. So descriptions, sometimes the Lord himself gives a philosophy, sometimes others glorify the Lord. And when one hears either of these, by you personally or by your pure devotees, what happens? So this is the process, hearing process. Now what is the result you get? The result is that certainly the Lord, who is otherwise known as unconquerable, Ajita, becomes conquered. So the process is so powerful that you not only attain God, but you also can capture Him. So that was the glory of the previous month we celebrated where Mother Yashoda was able to capture Lord Krishna and bind him. And that option of capturing, conquering the lordships, who is otherwise known as Ajita, unconquerable Lord, he also becomes conquered by anyone. So this is the key principle. So be situated in your social position, continue hearing, dedicating your body, mind and words in hearing about the glories of the Lord. Simply by doing this process, you are able to conquer the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is the principle which Mother Devahuti is following. She did not leave home. She is situating herself in the social position that she is meant to be, and she is practicing Bhakti Yoga, and by that process she is able to conquer and attain the perfection of Bhakti Yoga, which is attaining pure devotion. And that's why even when describing pure devotional service, Lord Kapila himself makes this point about how one has to hear the glories, and then naturally the mind will flow towards the Lord just like Ganges. Manogatir avichinna yada gangamba shambudau lakshanam bhakti yogasya nirgunasya hi utahrita ahaituki avyavahita ya bhakti hi purushottame. Madguna, yeah, that's how it begins. Madguna shruti matrena mahi sarva guhashaya manogatir avichinna yata gangamba shambudau lakshanam bhakti yogasya nirgunasya hi udahrita ahaituki avyavahita ya bhakti hi purushottame. So the point of mind flowing towards the Lord, the analogy is given like the river flowing towards the ocean. So the famous rivers are Mother Ganges. And interestingly, the hermitage where they are situated, that's also near Mother Saraswati. So coming back to this 10.14.3 purport, this conquering aspect, and then how the Lord gets conquered, the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, they have very wonderfully described in their purports about how the Lord gets captured, through how the Lord's body is captured, how the Lord's words are captured, and how Lord's mind is captured. Because we are saying conquering, we understood body, mind and words. So you use your body, mind and words, and we apply the process. Then the Lord's body, mind and words are also captured. How is that? The Lord's body is captured because he always remains by the side of his pure devotee. So that's how in Bali Maharaj's pastime also you will see the Lord will promise that I will protect Sutala Loka and I will be with you. So he is standing right next to his devotee. So this is how the Lord's body is captured. Now, how is the Lord's words captured? Because the Lord also glorifies his own devotees. Many times you will see that the devotees are glorifying the Lord will also glorify his own devotees. By glorifying his devotees, the Lord's words are captured. So we covered body, mind. What's remaining is words. So what's remaining is the mind. So the internal working of the Lord's mind is described in such a way that he always thinks about the welfare of his own devotees. In this way, the Lord's mind is also captured. So just by you applying your body, mind and words, you are able to capture the body, mind and words of the Lord. Now, how does one properly do this? Is through one's body, one pays obeisances, just like you all came, you paid your respects. So the body bows down. The act of bowing down is physical, but internally we surrender ourselves to the Supreme Lord. That is what the actual action of bowing down means. And then we chant mantras, especially we chant prayers glorifying the Lord, or if you are paying respects to the spiritual master, you chant their pranam mantra. So that's what it means. So by the action of bowing down, you assume that the personality you're bowing down is standing in front of you. So that's why the whole body is lying down and the hands are touching their feet. So that's how one does the entire bowing down. So in this way the body is engaged. Then the words, as we are describing, you can describe, you can read, you can discuss spiritual topics. In this way, your words are engaged. And as the words are engaged, you also engage your mind by feeling great pleasure and reverence when discussing these transcendental topics. So in this way, a devotee engages his body, mind and words, and thereby captures Lord's body, mind and words. So the purport says, in this way, a sincere devotee who has acquired even a small amount of transcendental knowledge about Lord Krishna can conquer him and thus go back home, back to Godhead for eternal life at the Lord's side. So this covers the theme of being situated in one's own social position and engaging three things: body, mind and words. If you do that, then you will be successful. Now Mother Devahuti is sitting and doing her sadhana, and it is described that the place is also getting transformed. Just as a person doing the practice, she is getting transformed, the place is also getting transformed. And that's why it's described as to how the place became the flower crown of river Saraswati. So a person doing sadhana, and because of which the place also getting transformed. So that's the theme I wanted to touch upon next, as to how powerful the sadhana is, that it transforms not only the person but also the surroundings. So one example that came to my mind when thinking about this topic is about how, not one example, few examples, how when Srila Haridas Thakur was doing his bhajan, and how when he was allured by the prostitute, he kept on doing his sadhana, and thereby the person who came with ill motives, she also got transformed, and the entire place was so surcharged that later on, when the prostitute changed her, went through a whole transformation, Haridas Thakur ordered her to remain in that kutir in which he did his bhajan, have Mother Tulsi in front of her, and then continue her sadhana. So the power of one person doing sadhana, transforming not only the other person but also surcharging the entire environment, so that the other person who wants to do sadhana there, who wants to do the spiritual practice, sadhana means spiritual practice, they also get benefited by such spiritual vibrations. And that's why there's a famous verse in the Bhagavatam that Bhavat Vida Bhagavatas Tirtha Bhuta Swayam Vibho Tirti Kurvanti Tirtani Swanta Sena Katasuya. Devotees like your good self are holy places personified, and you can transform even an ordinary place to a holy place just because you visit those holy places. So this is 1:13:10, where the power of a person practicing sadhana, they carry the Lord in their heart, and because they are visiting different places, and because they are carrying the Lord in their heart, that place also becomes a holy place. When reading through Lilamrita, I came across this section. Another example is Srila Prabhupada himself transforming places like the Bowery, which was considered not a worthy place to live, because what happened to Srila Prabhupada when he was in the US, there's one instance where his possessions were stolen, and he had to move out of the apartment that he was in, and the next place that he had to move is to the Bowery. And many said it's not a safe place. But that was the only option that he had. So he had to go there and live, and he was sharing the unit with David Allen. So in that section, it is written there, we see this, the power of Srila Prabhupada doing his sadhana, doing his spiritual practices. It is transforming a place as polluted like Bowery to become as pure as that of Vrindavan Radha Damodar temple. So that's how His Holiness Satsvarup Maharaj writes. Because in that place, Srila Prabhupada is conducting kirtans, he is discussing Bhagavad Gita, he is discussing Srimad Bhagavatam. So he got surcharged by doing his sadhana in Vrindavan. He got surcharged by getting instructions from his spiritual master. And now, by doing his sadhana, he is surcharging the entire environment, which is as bad as Bowery, and elevating that to as good as Radha Damodar temple in Vrindavan. I'll read that section from Lilamrita. And this Bowery loft, where Prabhupada was holding his meetings and performing kirtan, was also transcendental. When he was behind the partition, working in his corner before the open pages of Srimad Bhagavatam, that room was as good as his room back at the Radha Damodara temple in Vrindavana. Vrindavana, as most of you know, is a holy place where the Lord Krishna performed a lot of his pastimes. So that's a holy place. And compare that with Bowery in the US, where it's considered not so safe place to even live. Forget about preaching. So here is an exalted, spiritually empowered personality like Srila Prabhupada going there and transforming the whole place as good as Radha Damodar temple in Vrindavan. So this shows the potency of the instructions, potency of the person executing the instructions, potency of the process and the transformation that it brings about in the person and also in the place. So if you want to read that section in the Lilamrita, it's part 1, chapter 17. Yeah, every morning he would hold a class on Srimad Bhagavatam, attended by David Allen, Robert Nelson, and another boy, and occasionally he would teach cooking to whoever was interested. He was usually available for personal talks with any inquiring visitors or with his new roommate. So thus we saw the power of one person doing sadhana, and also the power of the transformation of the place, how the places get transformed. I also got reminded about the pastime of in the Ramayana, where Hanumanji, when his tail was put on fire, so what he decided is he decided to jump from one building to the other, and every time he touched those buildings also got fire. So here the empowered representative of Lord Ram, and he is on a mission. He fulfilled his mission, and then he is also sending warning signals to Ravana not to think low about Lord Ram, then how his servant can create such a havoc. So every building he touched, he started burning. So jumping from one building to the other building to the other building, so the whole place was starting to burn. In parallel, I was thinking about how Srila Prabhupada, with his spiritual potency, is able to travel to the different parts of the world and light, create, ignite the fire of bhakti and create preaching centers and temples and ignite the fire in the hearts of other other people and make them devotees. So in that connection, I wanted to read Srila Prabhupada's letter to Jayatirtha to illustrate how extensive Srila Prabhupada was traveling. So this is letter to Jayatirtha, 5th of May 1974. Regarding your invitation that I attend the Ratha Yatra festival in San Francisco on July 7th. So this is one place, San Francisco. Just make a note of the places that's going to come. San Francisco on July 7th. It is possible that I may attend depending on when I finish my European tour. I am due to arrive in Rome on May 23rd. And then after a week, Geneva. Then Paris. And possibly Stockholm, Germany, and England. And if there is time, I can fly directly from Europe to Los Angeles and go to the festival. Then, as you suggest, go to Australia Ratha Yatra via Hawaii. This is known as Jet Age Parivrijakacharya. So are you able to recollect how many places were covered? Anyone want to recollect some places? One place per person.
Yeah, so from, you said you want to go to San Francisco,
Yeah.
Los Angeles,
Yeah.
Australia,
Okay, let's give chance to others.
Paris.
Okay, he wants. Sorry. Rome, Paris, Stockholm, Germany. So here is where we can see Srila Prabhupada traveling from one place to the other place to the other place, just like Hanuman is jumping from one place to the other place and igniting fire. Srila Prabhupada is using the technology, which is the flight. Acharya means one who leads by example. Parivrijaka Acharya means one who travels to different places. And that's why he adds this tag, jet age, he's traveling in jet. And that's a time of traveling through flight. So that's why he calls himself a jet age Parivrijakacharya. So an empowered representative traveling from one place to the other and creating holy places wherever he goes. And then one of the places we are sitting now at the moment is ISKCON Sydney, Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Mandir ki joy. So this is how one person doing sadhana in one place, receiving instructions and being empowered, that person can create many such spiritually surcharged environment in other places of the world. Now, in text 14, so that covers text 13. In text 14, the principles of austerity. What did Mother Devahuti do in terms of her body? We discussed three things: body, mind, and words. So, body, bathing, bathing 3 times a day, and the principle of bathing, you come in touch with water, and that refreshes you. It also removes not only the physical dirt from the body, the mind also gets refreshed. So that's why bathing has an effect. Then it symbolizes the quality of cleanliness. By bathing, you become externally clean. Mind is also clean, and you wear clean clothing. All of this we are doing not to show that I am clean and I become proud. If rather Krishna and Guru, they like cleanliness. That's why I am keeping myself clean. And the medium I'm using is water, and that's also an energy of the Lord, the potency, right? So you see the principle of pleasing the Lord, and that's why I'm keeping myself clean. So it also helps us to raise the mode of goodness, from which you're situating yourself in a platform from where you can serve the Lord nicely. You are able to go and do puja or cook for the Lord. Your consciousness is being elevated by coming in touch with the water. Now, even there was a pastime in the Nectar of Devotion. I remembered about how a Brahmana who could not offer very wealthy preparation, very opulent preparation for the Lord. So he was in the bank of, I think it's Godavari. So this poor Brahmana, he will take bath daily, come out, sit in the bank, and meditate upon making a nice offering to the Lord and offering it to the Lord. And even though he was poor, he did not give up this habit of keeping himself clean by bathing in the river. He did not think, I am poor, why should I take bath? So let me meditate before taking bath. No, so he took a bath, sat on the banks, then meditated upon offering the items to the Lord. And as we know, just by the power of that meditation, he got liberated. So the principle is keeping oneself clean. The next principle that covered in the purport of 14 is giving up one's comfortable position. So Mother Devahuti was trained to give up her comfortable position when she was a daughter of a king. She got married to an ascetic like Kardama Muni. It was not so comfortable transition, but she took it to her heart and she adopted quickly to the situation. By doing such austerities when she was young, she pleased her husband, and later her husband made sure that she got all the comfortable situation. And that is something principle we can learn, is to practice austerities whatever we can when we are young, and that will help us to imbibe them and carry on with them when we are older. So the power of giving up the comfort comes from being attracted towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's not about an artificial endeavor to give up. She, Mother Devahuti, has all the opulence now, which will be described in the next set of verses. But what is she missing? She is missing her husband. She is missing her dearmost son, Lord Kapila. She is absorbed in the mood of separation. And that's why all these opulence that she is having, it fades into the background. And whatever she heard before, now that she is enlightened, she is putting them into practice. So that's why Lord Krishna also describes that yajna jana tapastaiva pavanani manishina. So one shouldn't give up this. As far as reducing eating and sleeping, I struggle a lot in that area, so I can't speak much. But as per the Shastras, it is recommended that you reduce your eating and sleeping so that it becomes conducive for performing any type of yoga. And that's why the principle of not becoming, it doesn't say becoming fat, it says becoming too fat. So it shouldn't affect our service towards the Lord. Again, when applying the principle of austerity and keeping oneself, reducing one's sleep and eating, one shouldn't over apply it so that you don't have enough energy to even do the service to the Lord. So the body is considered as the sadhana sharira, and whatever energy you need to require to do service, that much you take. So Prabhupada says if you're like an ant, you eat like an ant. If you're like an elephant, you eat like that. So Bhima does jobs like Bhima, so he eats like that. If you're not doing that kind of a job, so you eat accordingly. Just enough so that you can do service. So not in the name of service, in the name of austerity, you don't take care of your body, you neglect, and thereby you can't do your sadhana. So that's the balance. The final point I wanted to touch upon is seeing this purport, one should not comment upon devotees' appearance if they are fat. So you're too fat, so which means so not to look upon other devotees with and misuse this purport and point fingers and commit offenses. Their body is being used in the Lord's service and it is spiritualized by that process. They may look thin, fat, too fat. It is between them and the Lord. So Prabhupada is able to give instructions, but we shouldn't use that to judge other devotees. With those set of points, I'll conclude. If there are any questions, comments, or corrections. Yes, please. Thank you. Thank you.
Yesterday, I had a question which a couple of devotees asked on similar lines.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get more clarification on that.
Okay.
I think we are continuing on the same theme, if I may put it. Mother Devi actually leaving, Lord Kapila actually leaving the home, and Devati
Not leaving.
staying at home. And Srila Prabhupada, as you touched upon, very nicely described in text 14 purport. What I was actually concerned is, I'm not sure at what age Mother Devati was at that time when she was actually staying alone at her home on the bank of the Saraswati River. I'm just trying to correlate to, like, in general situation these days, or even at that time, because I haven't actually heard many references, the devotees or parents being left alone. I'm trying to correlate this to the day-to-day scenario.
Okay.
As the age advances, a human being is faced with so many ailments, diseases, because that's probably the natural, that's because it's actually the nature of the material body,
Yeah.
especially in old age. And I can understand that based upon the instructions of Lord Kapila, Mother Devati was actually forming sent percent in adopting the Krishna consciousness.
Yeah.
And diving actually deep. So I was actually just wondering, my question is, how did she face any health issues at that time? Or should we understand that because she actually dived deep into Krishna consciousness, her health care, those kind of issues have been
We're taken care.
And
Yeah.
also, if I may just conclude this, I came across a Srila Prabhupada's quote. I don't know if it's bona fide or not, somebody had actually sent me yesterday. Srila Prabhupada said, health is number one, chanting is number two, service is number three, and reading is number four. I don't know if it's bona fide or not. But my
Yeah.
question is actually mainly trying to understand how does a parent overcome the health issues, especially in an advanced age, even though they are actually practicing Saint person devotional service.
Yeah. So the question boils down to how does a parent in old age manage their health without, in the absence of their sons and daughters? Okay. Yeah, if we look at the purports, Kardamamuni doesn't just leave home, leaving Mother Devahuti in a helpless situation. If you read the purports and previous and the current sections also, he made sure that there are enough maid servants for her to be taken care. They are taking care of her bodily needs. And Lord Kapil also doesn't leave like that. Even though he is a Lord, if you read these sections, um, yeah, the female members of the household were all amply decorated. The environment. Text 19. Her husband Kadama gave her all protection at all times. So the point is, she had maid servants. Yeah. So it will go on to describe that at one stage it will say that because the Mother Devothi's external needs were taken care by the maid servants, she did not even become thin. This verse says it becomes thin, but subsequent verses, she was accepting the bare necessities of life. Her heart became purified, and she will even forget about her body. Yeah, this is text 27. Situated in eternal trance and freed from illusion, impelled by the three modes of nature, she forgot her material body just as one forgets his different bodies in a dream. 28. Her body was being taken care of by the spiritual damsels created by her husband, Kadama. Text 28. And since she had no material anxiety at that time, her body did not become thin. She appeared just like a fire surrounded by smoke. So the principle is, the husband or a son, before leaving home, they have to make sure that, this is what I learned, but I cannot emphatically say it. This is the principle I am learning from it. So Kadama has made sure that she is protected by maid servants, and they are taking care of bodily needs, and therefore she has full time to dedicate in her spiritual practice. And because of her immersion and absorption in the spiritual practice, she forgets her bodily needs. So the principle of being situated in a family life and taking care of elderly parents and considering them as Vaishnavas, one has to do that as a service and give protection, whatever is required for them. So that is how I see it. And yeah, so hopefully that answers your question. Yeah. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, शिल प्रभुपाद की जय, समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय. Just say Vipassana Dev Javadika.